third grade. Glad you stopped by. We know our routine. We'll have our welcome song. If you'll join me for a little bit of echo. Welcome to music. Glad you're here. We're gonna do some singing. We're gonna use our ears. We're going to have a lot of fun, 'cause music time has just begun. Welcome to music. Glad you're here. You know what comes next. We need Bobo. Alright, ready to do this? Bo, bo, bo. 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 Bo, 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 bo. Bo, bo, bo. Thank you very much. Well, last week I started sharing a story with you about the composer named Camille Saint Saens. He was a French composer, and after a spooky trip to a place called the Catacombs, he was inspired to write a piece of music that sounded like dancing skeletons rising from the grave. So let's jump back into that and see, how did Mr. Saint Saens change it to just instruments? Hopefully to get his point across even better. Last week, we left off as Mr. Saint Saens was walking through the Tuileries Garden, and he had this idea. He originally had words with it, but the words just, it muddied up what he was trying to say. It got turned into a love song, and dancing skeletons are definitely not the same thing as a love song. So he decided, no more words, I'm just going to use instruments. So Camille worked on his composition for nearly 2 years, carefully marking in the score every musical effect he wanted. He indicated precisely how each note should be played. In his quest for spooky sounds, he mixed waltzes and funeral tunes and experimented with various instruments. When the masterpiece was finished, Camille invited his friends over for a visit. With excitement, he described his composition. I wanted to capture the rasp and jangle of waltzing skeletons, he told Henry. That's why I added a xylophone to the orchestra. But what about the violins? Asked Augusta. They don't rattle and clack like skeletons. The violins do what I tell them to, said Camille. He showed her a page in the score. In this section, the musicians smack the strings with the wood of the bow. Clack, clickety, clickety, clack, clickety, clickety, clack. But what about Maestro Death? Said Henry. Does he do what you say? With pleasure, said Camille. I've given him a diabolical fiddle. On January 24th, 1875, more than 2,000 people gathered in the Chalet Theater to hear Camille's Danza Macabre. Dong, 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 dong. 12 strokes of midnight rang out from the harp. The first violinist walked on stage, flashing the audience a devilish grin. He tuned his diabolical fiddle, evoking Maestro Death. Like a shrouded specter, a lilting melody rose up from the orchestra. Now, Last week I said most of it is nonfiction, but there are some fiction parts. Do you actually think a shrouded specter came up out of a violin? No. But sometimes music makes you think of different pictures in your mind and different feelings. So it had that eerie, that spooky kind of feel to it. One by one, the skeletons rose from their graves. Bone against bone, they rattled and danced. The cellos strained, the woodwinds pranced, the xylophone clinked with each step. Fiddle bows clacked to the skeleton dance, spinning and swirling, swooshing and swaying. Zig and zag, the bony revelers delighted as Death's fiddle played on. Through the gloom, skipping bones glowed white, round and round they multiplied. Cloaked in darkness, Death played a funeral waltz. Trombones blasted and cymbals crashed. Jumping and soaring, the skeletons flew. The oboe played a rooster's cry. Sunlight touched the horizon, and timpani rumbled low in the distance. Zig and zag, Maestro Death ended the dance. Click clack. Camille's skeletons scampered away. A heavy silence hung over the concert hall. No one in the audience knew what to make of Camille's music. A few people clapped. Others shouted insults. Scandalous! Pure nonsense! Horrific! Camille walked on stage and took a deep bow. His friends looked worried. There was no need. Camille didn't care what the audience thought. The orchestra had played his Danza Macabre just the way he wanted it. His ghoulish skeletons had finally come to life, and Camille imagined them applauding from the catacombs. Bravo, cheered the bones. Long live the music, long live the dance. Told you that most of it's nonfiction, but there were a few fiction pieces. So, the catacombs that it mentions, that's a real place. That's one of the nonfiction elements. So we're going to use Google Maps and the Google Man to take a field trip to see this place that was so inspirational for Mr. Saint Saens. Let's go to Paris. All right, third grade. Let's take a little Google field trip. So here I can see Riverbend Elementary School. That's where I'm at right now. But we want to go to where Camille Saint Saens was inspired to write his piece of music, the Danza Macabre. So I'm going to zoom out. Oh, and now I can see the city view. I see Eugene and Springfield, so I'm going to keep zooming. Oh, now I'm looking at state view. There's Oregon. I keep going out. Oh, now we've got the country view. But to get over to Paris, I'm going to keep going east and east. I'm going to cross over this body of water here, the Atlantic Ocean. I'm going to keep going until I reach Europe, and I find France. Ding! Time to zoom. And there's Paris. And that is where, oh boy, Mr. Saint Saens was from. Well, all right. I'm going to keep zooming in. Get right up in Paris here. And the place where he was inspired was called the Catacombs. Ah, here it is. the catacombs of Paris. Now the neat thing is this little guy right down here, the Google Man. And the Google Man can actually go inside the catacombs. So remember how in the story it mentioned the stairwell that spiraled down like 83 steps, and that there were 6 million skeletons in this thing? Well, that part is true. So deep underground in Paris, France, is a real place called the catacombs. And the walls are lined with 6 million skeletons. These here, those are all leg bones, and you can see hiding out in between their rows of skulls. And it keeps going and going and going. So I will say, it's kind of neat to look for the patterns that the different shapes of bones make. And since you're so far underground, it's a little chilly. You kind of want to have a sweater or a hoodie. But millions of people every year come and walk through these hallways to experience the catacombs. Let's pick a different view, see what we get. What does here look like? Oh, this is just a hallway. Oh, but look, it's the stairwell I mentioned. That's how you get down there. All right, try a different one spot. What about here? So, as you walk through these long hallways that go on forever, once in a while you find kind of a memorial, that there's crosses set up, there's signs and plaques explaining when the skeletons were put down, if they were from a special event. You can kind of see here, they made a design out of skulls. It's kind of neat. Kind of creepy, but kind of neat. Because I was definitely creeped out. Yep, that's me hanging out with the skeletons. But a little field trip to the catacombs, or the underground cemetery, for 6 million skeletons that inspired Camille Saint Saens to write his famous piece, Danza Macabre. For this next part, you're going to want a little bit of room to move around. And before we jump in, a couple of things I need to explain. There are 4 different icons that's going to tell us what to do. And since we're not in the classroom, we're going to make a few little changes. Whenever you see a red circle, you're going to jump. Whenever you see an orange X, you're going to clap, because when we can clap, we're going to cross our hands to make it look like an X. Whenever you see the yellow tambourine, we're going to snap. And the blue triangle, you're going to pat on your lap. Let's go through it again. A red circle, you're going to jump. Orange X is a clap. The yellow tambourine is a snap. And the blue triangles is pat on your lap. I'll do a little bit of it with you, but then I'm gonna let you take over. So here we go with the silly skeleton dance. Voices with Bobo. And maybe you've noticed that if I sing notes that are up higher, bum bum bum, Bobo's higher up. But if I sing pitches that go down, bum bum bum, Bobo keeps going lower. So no matter which patterns I sing, Bobo is tracing the pitch, either high pitches or low pitches. But there are special pitches that you and Bobo, you've actually been singing. I just haven't told you. And there's 3 that I want to introduce you to. There's one that lives up on our shoulders. And since it is on our shoulders, and shoulders start with an S, that note we call so. See if I can kind of line this up with my shoulder. About. There's one that lives on here on our middle. And since middle starts with an M, you know, our music note, it's also going to start with an M. And we call it me. Now, not me like a person, that's M-E. Our music note is M-I. And I'm going to put it down about my middle. And the last one lives up on her head. And that one they call la. Because sometimes in our heads we think la 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 la. And la lives a little bit higher than our head. So this one is our shoulders, is so, me, and la. Will you echo some patterns with me Except I'm going to use our music pitches. Sol, mi, sol. La, sol, mi. Now, even though I didn't tell you, I really hope that you're putting your hands on the spot of our body where the notes live. Don't forget that part. So you've got hand placements and the singing. Mi, sol, mi. Mi, sol, la. La, la, sol. Sol, sol, la. Sol, la, mi. Mi, mi, sol. Sol, mi, sol. La, sol, mi. I think that's enough patterns. But just to wrap it up, the note that lives up here on our shoulders, we call it so. Our note that lives down in our middle, we call mi. And the note up here on top of our head is la. Last week, we started a song about bats. And you watched a little video about a very special bat colony that lives on in Austin, Texas. They live in the Congress Street Bridge. And every night, they go flying out. They do their little bat thing during the day. And then at night, 2 million bats go soaring through the sky. So let's kind of review the song. And then we're going to add on to it a little bit. Capiche? Bats can fly around. They make such spooky sounds. They chill my bones whenever they go again. Bats can fly around. They make such spooky sounds. They chill my bones whenever they go That was the first verse. And now that hopefully the melody's stuck in your head a little bit, let's go through the second and third verses. Words over here. Bats can't see at night, so how do they take flight? Echo after me. Bats can't see at night, so how do they take flight? They listen for the echo of their E. Singing voice. Bats can't see at night. So how do they take flight? So they listen for the echo of their E. The third verse goes like this. Again, words are here. Bats can sleep all day. They don't go out and play. Echo. Bats can sleep all day. They don't go out and play. Until the sun comes down. Try again. Until the sun goes down and then they fly away. Singing voice. Bats can sleep all day. They don't go out and play. Until the sun goes down and then they fly away. Let's put all 3 verses together with our bats. Bats can fly around, they make such spooky sounds. They chill my bones whenever they go ee. Bats can't see at night, so how do they take flight? They listen for the echo of their ee. Bats can sleep all day, they don't go out and play until the sun goes down, and then they fly away. So one more time, just because I threw 2 new verses at you. This time, I know you'll do great. Come on. Bats can fly around, they make such spooky sounds. They chill my bones whenever they go ee. Bats can't see at night, so how do they take flight? They listen for the echo of their ee. Bats can sleep all day, they don't go out and play until the sun goes down, and then they fly away. Oh, speaking of bats that fly away, it's time for me to fly away. We are out of time for this week, but I hope you had fun. I always enjoy getting to do things for you, and even though we're on a screen, it's still kind of fun. But I do really miss your smiling faces. I miss hearing you talk and sing back with me. But we'll get there soon enough. All right, have an amazing rest of the week. I love you all, and I'll see you next time.